100.
Early spring. We wanted fall, but it's just. Good, yeah, how are you?
All right. Good, brother.
I am. Trying to within 53. On my fence.
What's that? They'll be on the part of the Zoom here, tomorrow. Yeah, okay, we've already contacted them. Okay, we worked.
Good. Good. Glad to hear it. Thank you.
This is mine. Yes, sir. There's nothing in the minutes about it.
Yeah, it would have been September, it would have
We
been
just-
September stuff, we just thought, you know, ignored that. Because then there's an email from the handle. It said we didn't want to pursue anything, and that was it, so September, we would say.
I just want to make sure if we have to pay some of the social
Look at what they're saying about the bundling cost here. They might look last night, it was like $10,000. It's just the wrong people.
That was, right?
It's supposed to be, that was what it started acting up. Propane either. Where did that come from? It's like, we're ready. I
I gave some, I got dressed, but they don't.
When he called me.
Like, I don't know, I was having,
I mean, we were in 5 minutes. Oh, really?
no, you're right, I really thought we were gonna do something.
Yes, we did, but then they sent the thing with the wrong motor. The right motor. Well, that too. Yeah. It's a different spot.
He is comical.
We will call December 19th. 7 o'clock, we do a pledge of allegiance and moment of silence for all military personnel.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, Mr. Steve.
Here. Here, sir. Here.
Mr. Rhodes.
Present.
Any citizens concerned, any citizens concerned, your name and address, please? Name and address, please?
Bernard Kamarakis, 37 Bard Road. We discussed this, I don't know, October of 22. And I'm still discussing it, and it's December of 23. Are we ever gonna get it solved or not?
What are we talking about, Larry? I got to put something down there.
Road water at my driveway,
Drainage issues at your driveway.
and the water on the road.
The road washed away.
Ryan's been working on it, but I don't know where we're at. I keep getting told something different.
Right. Yeah, so we had discussed with Bernie taking some grade shots, and what I told him was, I'm gonna have our surveyor at our cost go out there and take some grade shots on the center line of road and, road shoulder to see if there's a way we can move this water without doing paving adjustments, because we had talked about adjusting Bernie's driveway. Now, I think there were some concerns as to whether or not we'd address it with that.
Well, where my driveway's sinking, and
Yeah.
it's sinking inches now, is outside the right of way, so the
So-
water's been pushed into my driveway.
So I'm thinking we need to start with a baseline, some grade shots, and then we can discuss it with the road crew, myself and Bernie. and
We-
make sure there's that issue.
We got,
There's a subdivision in there, I suspect the right of way is increased to 25 feet in there.
I don't know if it was.
it's 33 feet,
It's 33.
that's what I was told, 16 and a half from center of the road.
That was part of the subdivision, and the subdivision, whenever we did a subdivision, we increased the right of way to 50 feet or 60 feet, depending on the category of the.
Well, then,
On the farm on the other side, I believe it is. I don't know that it is at Bernie's house.
and if it is that way, then someone owes me a lot of money for the time and money I
Subdivision
spent.
that's done in there, it'll show it to you, if it's done in the subdivision, I'm sure it was in.
And when do you think you're gonna do that, Ryan? Well, again, I'd like to have a plan of action going in the spring and have an agreement with Bernie to see what we gotta do to address it.
I mean, hopefully the road's there come spring, cause the pipe's exposed to, I don't know,
That's no
about 4
good, there's
feet.
no ifs, ands, or buts.
Yeah, with the pipe's exposed about 4 or 5 feet now on the outlet side.
But for what it's worth, with him getting grade shot, that's the correct way to go about it.
Well, why didn't we do grade shots back in October of 22, so this would have been done?
That's what,
Yeah, now my driveway that was already deteriorating is really bad.
that's what you need to try to sort it out.
Good, that's our plan. We're happy with that. Any other citizens' concerns?
Before we move on, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to take the agenda out of order for old business, Roman numeral 8A. We will, old business, there's additional items open. I see the representatives of Trinity Drilling, and they were, as you guys are all aware, they were at our workshop session, so
No, we can keep them down there, because some of this other stuff won't be too long, I don't think.
I made a motion.
No, you wanna make a second to change?
Is there a reason that you wanna make them wait through the whole meeting? I mean,
No, it's just because this other stuff, correspondence won't take long, and chief's probably not gonna add much, and. You know,
I would think it'd be common courtesy to move them up.
I'll second the motion.
Alright, roll call, Mr. Steve? No. Mr. Brown?
Yeah, okay.
Mr. Bitler?
Yes.
Mr. Rhodes?
Yes.
Another yes, alright.
Gentlemen.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the opportunity to share, and thanks for your courtesy in the interest of time. We'll do our best to be respectful of that. I'm Keith Brubacher. I'm a managing member of Trinity Drilling and Blasting, which, the brief recap, we've been here before the board in April, and as a reminder, we trade under Trinity Drilling and Blasting as our operating company that does drilling and blasting. We have M3 Explo, which is our brand for the explosive side of things. And so we were back here in April, I believe it was. I'm here tonight with the folks that were with me then. My manager of Trinity Drilling and Blasting, Adam DePaul, as well as our attorney, Jamie Strong from McNeese, Wallace, and Nurek, who's been helping us through this process. So just as a reminder, we're here to petition for approval to construct an explosives magazine storage facility at the Hertzler Farm on Hopewell Road. And we're here to follow up from our conversation at the workshop session on Thursday. And it seemed as if things had kind of gotten way late a bit, and we weren't sure where that stood, so we appreciate the opportunity to re-engage in that conversation. The Planning Commission had expressed a willingness to consider our request for a zoning text amendment that would address this. If you would wish for a recap of that, happy to provide that, but don't want to take time to do that if you're feeling up to speed on that. So I'll follow your guidance on how much history you would like me to recap on that. They did consider our request, made some suggestions. We worked back and forth with them, attended 2 meetings with the Planning Commission as well, addressed those questions, concerns, suggestions. There were some from the emergency response folks about notifications. We made some amendments relating to that as well. And so we believe we have a draft that addresses the concerns on the table. And if there are others, we'd be happy to discuss those so that we might hopefully find a path forward toward a zoning amendment. The other piece that I did want to mention is that we do have a letter from the Berks County Agricultural Board of Preservation. So that is a preserved farm, and one of the steps that the landowners took was to present their proposal and our proposal via the lease agreement to the Ag Preserve Board, and they did approve that, and I have a copy of that here with me, and I believe the township has a copy of that. If not, we'd be happy to provide that. So they did not see that as a use that would run counter to the agricultural purposes, provided we don't use land that's currently in agricultural production. So we have a lease with the Hertzlers that is contingent upon the necessary approvals from a variety of agencies, but this is the first and most important place that we start. So that's what we're here to share about tonight, and happy to address questions or concerns you might have around that.
Well, the only thing I would say, I guess if you were here, I guess we discussed it in September, Solicitor Orlando had done the draft ordinance, and then we had, at that point anyway, weren't interested in moving forward with the ordinance, and then Solicitor Orlando on October 19th sent James Strong, we just didn't move forward, and then we didn't do anything further, so I guess now here you are, so that's from September, October, so I don't know if anybody's changed their thoughts or what since back then, we didn't wanna deal with that ordinance, and then, I guess that's, Mr. Lang sent Mr. Strong, email that said they want to move forward, and that's where we stood, so here we are in December, so I don't know if anybody else on the board wants to change anything, or.
Yeah, I think, I certainly have some interest in a mutually beneficial arrangement, and I think I said at the workshop that there was some information that I don't feel this board, fully considered. And that information in particular was the agricultural society essentially saying that this is not taking cropland out of preserved form. I also felt that we just didn't give it enough time. One of the things I was concerned with was not essentially these gentlemen's problem, was that I don't feel we looked at our regional comprehensive plan. You folks that don't know that, that's this document. And I was not happy that our staff didn't look at that. I'm not pointing fingers, I'm just feeling that I was not as informed as I felt I should have been. So under those circumstances, I'd like to kind of reopen that dialogue, have our solicitor revisit that with your attorney. And one thing in particular that troubled me initially, fellows, was the zoning language. This is an isolated incident that's unique to this farm. And I've since had a chance to drive through that area a little bit better, and I really don't see a negative impact. I kind of see the opposite. So what I'm saying is we have some zoning issues.
Would you wanna revisit that draft ordinance? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I'd like to get the draft ordinance back looked at and see if there's anything. We directed our solicitor to indicate to you we weren't interested in moving forward. I feel it was based on some misinformation and lack of information. I don't feel that I'm getting all the information that I need, not just on your issue, on other issues, and that's not your problem. I don't think you should pay that price. So I'm willing to, continue that dialogue. One of the things I was concerned with was impact on our roads, and I also understand, and impact on our emergency services. I understand there is some room with which you can give some additional training, some funding. This is just for consideration. This is not absolutely commitment, but we have some fire people here in the room, right now. So with those things being said, I think we should take another look at this situation. Yeah.
Well, unless we just can say do it for January, the draft ordinance, we could I found that, it was June 14th, unless there was another one since.
That June 14th one, as I recall, took out the language that was more of a permitted use by right, so to speak. I think we addressed that.
Yeah, so there were, Jamie Strong, Mr. Orlando and I had worked together, so we were at the planning commission in July and then again in August, and had good discussion with the planning commission members and staff about what changes should be made, and that was definitely one of them. Was it originally was drafted as by right, but it was changed to be by conditional use, which would mean that application would come back before the board for review and approval in a public hearing. And together with some other changes, one making sure that the use is not on land that's used in agricultural production, and so we had worked through some of those other changes to address the planning commission comments, and that was sort of the draft that we had arrived at before we got the notification about the board putting the brakes on the process. So certainly happy to, if there are more changes or tweaks to the ordinance amendment itself, we can work through those. If there's discussions on emergency management concerns, just happy to have that dialogue and address any concerns so that everyone can feel comfortable that we have a version that can be approved.
Well,
We don't have to make a motion for it, just put it in January. Do we have to make a motion? Just put it on the agenda in January and we recirculate the updated draft ordinance, and then
the you're authorized to proceed and get him whatever else he needed or whatever you guys were working on. We'll look at the draft ordinance again until January. Maybe you guys can revisit it, make sure you're satisfied with it, and we'll give you some more information then.
So what, let me be clear, is there a motion that the board is going to authorize me to,
Yeah, I'll make that motion, and if you're more comfortable with that, Gene, I'll make that motion.
I'll second. What's the official motion?
Pardon me?
What's the official motion?
Official motion is to direct our solicitor to, make sure that all is in order for a reasonable, presentation to this board of the ordinance you've been working on and to contact their attorney.
I'll second the motion.
Roll call, Mr. Stevens.
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
Yeah.
Mr. Bitler.
Yes.
Mr. Rhodes.
Yes.
I'll vote yes.
No guarantees, but we wanna try and look at it further. Before you guys head out, you may be heading out, Merry Christmas, but who's the blasting expert among you, or is no one? So tell me something just briefly. We had some issues with tannerite, which I have sitting in front of me. Now, my research is on that one of these is equal to like a blast, a rifle blast. But I understand kids, whoever abusers of the process, are putting 10 of these together. You know anything about that?
I do not know anything about that.
Right, so if this is a pound of tannerite, you put 10 of these together, I'm told bad things happen. You know anything? Have you seen anything?
Me personally, no, I've not, I don't know.
Okay.
anything about that.
I just took a wild chance that maybe you knew something. I don't know much, but I'm gonna learn.
We deal primarily and exclusively in highly regulated materials that fit within the regulatory box. That tends to be more recreational and
Well, it
unauthorized.
seems to me it needs, I'm not a big fan of regulations. If you're saying you might hear more of that, but it would seem to me that there's a problem, with this stuff. It's just my own opinion.
There certainly is.
So thank you, gentlemen, and
Thank you very much.
you should hear from us. Merry Christmas.
Thank you. I appreciate your hearing our issue.
Quick question. At the last meeting, Mr. Bittler suggested we put all the proposed ordinances on the website. Are we going to post this thing before the next meeting so that everyone in the world can take a look at this?
Well, I'd like to think everybody in the world, could take a look at whatever they want. I certainly feel we haven't done the job as a township on getting things on this ordinance. So, I think we should first revisit to make sure, but absolutely I'm in favor. Let's make sure our ducks are in order, that it's ready. I don't think it was before,
Well,
but absolutely, Harold, if it comes down to it, I'm shocked that our manager would not put our nuisance ordinance.
that was.
I'm shocked that that is not on there,
Yeah,
Harold.
but that's in a draft form, that's not even this far.
Well, to me, it doesn't matter whether it's a draft or not. If you'd like it on, I'm sure you fellas wouldn't care, would you? You have no objection to,
I leave that to
No,
our legal expert.
what I like is the public to be as informed as possible. That's what I'd like. So, let's get that on. Do we have, how many pages is that? We have a problem. Mr. Gadarakis, didn't you say that the agenda for this evening doesn't include any of the exhibits, and it has before?
The last I seen, all it was the agenda, it's 2 pages.
Okay, and a few days earlier, there was more with it.
There was 7
So,
pages.
so, Richard, what is going on with that? Do you know?
I'll have to look at the motion.
Okay. All right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And, correspondence, and of course, we saw the county clerk's from the commissioner Thursday. First commissioner is also requesting a donation. I don't think we were gonna do a donation, do you wanna do it?
No.
And if you see, we did certificates for Harold and Taylor. We got the agreement. Now, our Albright would like $500.
The PA Teamsters non-collectively bargaining group participation agreement requires signature,
It's for his signature.
so we will need a motion, I guess, to authorize someone to sign it. I'll make the motion.
I'll second the motion.
Roll call, Mr. Steve?
Yeah.
Mr. Brown?
Yeah.
Mr. Bitler?
What was the motion again?
Authorize someone to sign the Central PA Teamsters non-collectively bargaining group participation
And
agreement.
that was in our packet workshop.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll vote yes.
Mr. Rhodes?
Yes.
Alright, now we got the Albright asking for $500. That's what we did last
I'll make a motion, we, contribute $500 to operate, as we have in the past.
Second that motion.
Roll call, Mr. Steve,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yeah, I'll vote yes.
Mr. Bitler,
Yes.
Mr. Rhodes.
Yes.
I'll vote yes. And of course, on the workshop, there was the Senator Scott Martin's 911 service correspondence. Also on Thursday, we discussed the letter of condemnation for Sheila.
Well, hold on there a second, Mr. Chairman. On Thursday, none of this board, to my knowledge, was informed about that letter, and you kind of read it off. So I'm in opposition for that, and I would state clearly that to the extent there were extra measures that needed to be done, that falls on this board by not having enough people, the right people to do the job. So I don't support this when you're saying, with full endorsement of the undersigned, might be your individual capacity, but I have some reservations with that, and I certainly don't endorse that.
Would anybody like to make a motion to accept the letter of commendation, or?
Would that require a motion? To accept your letter of commendation?
Accept that letter.
Commendation. We've never done it for the police.
Well, Mr. Steve, it seems like this board is trying to take an action that our chairman tried to take unilaterally on Thursday. I'm certainly objecting to it, so if the board as a whole is doing something, I mean, I don't understand how this can occur. How you give a raise out without job reviews and job performance is beyond me.
The letter has nothing to do with pay raise,
Well, I'm reading the last paragraph, $1 per hour in perpetuity, or as long as someone's an employee, $25 bonus. It certainly does, Mr. Steve, certainly does.
but that was done months ago.
Well, this is the accommodation, this is the night for the budget, and this is, I don't care when it was done. When something's done months ago, it doesn't make it any more logical now.
Do we need a motion for it?
I guess not, I guess not.
Like, so
I'm looking at the letter.
Well, while we're waiting on that, I just want to mention, because Scott Martin was mentioned up here earlier, we did receive correspondence from him today that the sewer authority was granted a $290-some-thousand grant, which we have contributed 15% of, to upgrade the sewer plant.
I believe this letter requires a motion.
It does? Okay.
Would you like a motion to accept the letter of commendation?
I'll make a motion to accept it.
I'll second. Roll call, Mr. Steve,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Bitler,
Oh.
Mr. Rhodes.
Yes.
I'll vote yes. And we do have the updated 2024 meeting schedule. And I'd like to make a motion to approve and therefore advertise the,
I'll make that motion. I'll second the motion.
roll call, Mr. Steve,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Bitler,
Yes.
Mr. Rhodes.
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. All right, Chief.
Good evening, Board. I'd like to request a motion to adopt resolution 2023-13, which pertains to disposal of certain police records.
Do we have that?
Should be.
That was in your back,
We have it here?
that was in your original pack from last week.
No, but we have the resolutions.
It should be in one of those, if not, we'll get that.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we adopt resolution 2023-13.
I'll second the motion.
We have a discussion on that motion. Chief, have you scanned any items that you may think should be permanently preserved?
Anything that's permanently preserved is currently in our RMS, and there's some things that were in those years that we have to preserve, and they've been pulled out.
Okay.
This is a process we actually started like in 2020, when I took over, and it's been an ongoing process of separating records. So
So you're convinced that the important things we've done. I've got some concerns that, there are some items in there that we're not going to be able to be duplicated.
No, I understand your concerns, and I'm convinced, we've had this task completed for a couple of years, and sat, and I kinda wanted to see if there was something that I'd have to revisit this, and there hasn't been.
I just have some hesitancy, maybe as a pack rat, I have some hesitancy
And then starting 2020, or I'm sorry, starting the year 2000, everything's on our RMS system, so it's electronic record. So some of these things, like when you see the certain years on the resolution, even though we are destroying the paper file, there's still gonna be something on the computer.
So the time I broke the playground window in Europe in the late 70s or whatever will be destroyed. I'll no longer have to pay for that.
I'm aware of it.
I'll admit that on
No, we have a motion to second, so. Roll call, Mr. Steve,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
I vote yes.
Mr. Bitler.
Yes.
Mr. Rhodes.
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Thank you, Board. I have the 2021 Ford Interceptor, they're still waiting on the headlight. Once the headlight comes in, they'll be putting that back together, but all the major work has been done. Other, probably proper, more so other items, would be the update on the Tahoe. They are working on it, we're supposed to have that back tomorrow. So, that's,
Were they able to just replace lifters?
that's what we were told at this point, so, yes.
They know they got the camera out, that's why
No,
I'm curious.
yeah, it didn't take out the cam from what they told us, so. But the way, our luck has been going, I wouldn't doubt if we got a phone call tomorrow saying that it replaced the cam. So, that's all I had this evening.
Chief, where do we stand on the brake retarder enforcement and the sign placement?
The signs have been, placed properly now, and the officers are aware if they hear the violations that they are to stop. And I suggested that they provide warnings at this point.
Well, I definitely would like to see the warnings. When you say properly, you've seen the one westbound that's still like,
I haven't seen it leaving now.
take a look at that.
Okay.
Do you think, you anticipate some enforcement here or some warnings being issued? Because did your officer tell you about our meeting at the playground? You heard about that?
Yeah.
Okay, well, those brake retarders start typically 3-4 o'clock in the morning.
Correct. Absolutely.
So I mean, that's being easy, not to throw him into the mix of things, but I was impressed when he, took my ID and I don't know if he ran whatever he did. I was impressed. We've had some increased presence, if you will, at the playground, and I hope we're gonna have increased presence throughout the township. As it seems like the drugs are infiltrating us a little more than what we ever could have thought. Now the second issue that seems to be dropped off the agenda has to do with the solicitation.
Mhm.
Where do we stand with that?
I have recommendations that I have prepared. If we're gonna move forward with the solicitation ordinance, and what the recommendations that I prepared are basically we do not solicit samples. So I have them ready to present when the board's ready to move forward with it.
Yeah, I'm just scared that stuff's falling off the agenda on occasion, and I have a dislike of enacting new ordinances. This is one of the things Mr. Steve and I discussed. I just have a real dislike of enacting a whole bunch of new ordinances when you talk about nuisances between those brake retarders and between these solicitation issues, particularly vulnerable are our elderly. I think the chief came up with some good ideas as it relates to, how did you have that? No knock and a list. In the last couple of years, I've seen a real proliferation of that, door-to-door salesman, and while I commend someone's spirit, I've had a lot of, complaints on that. So, I'd like to keep that going, and it seems like it dropped off the radar, chief. I'm hoping that we can get it, get the issues, when we have existing ordinances that needs tweaked, that's where we gotta concentrate our efforts.
That would have to be added, like some of the language that's there, and that's just a sample. That was taken from other municipalities.
So we do have a finished ordinance, or we don't?
No, there's not.
You think you can have a recommendation? Is that possible? Is that within your repertoire till next
Yeah,
month?
I can write up an ordinance, it's not.
Okay. Can you make sure that gets on the agenda, Richard?
Sure.
Thank you.
When they're due, chief.
Yeah. I'll put on the back.
Anything else, chief?
That is it.
Finances, you got our monthly expenses.
Showing in your packets, there was one monthly expense which was updated with everything we received yesterday. We did receive another one today, and I want to make note of that. That's the first internet bank Gibraltar Fire Company. That's the second form that I passed out for you. That was, we received their statements. That is due as of 1 January, otherwise there is a penalty and late fee, which is why we added it in here. Again, that received by us today in our offices.
Yeah, but the way it looks, they just received it today.
Correct. Yes.
Even though they just received it, Mr. Steve, it would be something they would be anticipating. Richard, you're aware that this board has a policy of not doing what just occurred. You're aware of our policy?
Understood.
And I'm not saying you, I'm just asking if you know the policy. As much as I like to fund the fire companies, I just think we need to address, we don't get a report ever from Gibraltar, do we? Galen, do we get a report from Gibraltar?
On a rare occasion.
Is that Galen or Harold?
That was me.
Okay, Galen, do we get a report from Gibraltar?
Did I get one?
No, do we? Does this township get a report?
The chief writes one.
Okay, well, all right, so
Is this part of their yearly?
this has been budgeted, this has been budgeted.
The remainder of their yearly?
Yeah, it's just, we all know, we've had a special meeting or a special time allowed discussing some issues with the fire companies. We all know there are issues here. So it's better to, can you contact the guys to maybe get a little report going on? I'd like this, I have their bylaws here, and we're looking at that. I've been looking at their constitution and their bylaws since this situation has, I'll say evolved in the last 6 months. Can you talk to those guys? I understand you're still on their board, or what do you call that, the trustees, you're still a trustee? What, Gibraltar?
A what?
A trustee, what do you call that?
I'm not a trustee, no.
Mr. Cook told me you were something. You're a man of importance at the fire company, so if you could communicate that, then if you see him, otherwise I'll see Mr. Cook and do it. See if we can't get a little bit, I'd like to see some of the financial records of both fire companies. And Mr. Gullo, you said, for those of you who don't know, I think it's Supervisor-elect, Mr. Gullo? Gullo, I'm sorry. I'm gonna have trouble with, Scott, that's right?
You got it.
So he'll be joining us, I think, in January. So if you need a motion to approve the payment of this, or add in, I'll make a motion, we approve this insert. It is budgeted, and they do need the money.
Let's make the motion, we just pay the bill, which is technically.
I don't like that motion. I'm not gonna be in favor of paying all the bills that seem to be really not scrutinized as closely as I would like. Last month I made a motion out that I would pay recurring bills. We need to keep the lights on here, but other bills need to start getting looked at. After a while, we're gonna adopt a budget, and I'm not supportive of that budget. My colleagues know why. And what my point is, if you wanna make a motion to pay that fine, meaning in addition here, read a policy, this isn't up to the policy. Once we make this exception, game on. So if you're looking for a second, I'll make a second, but only on the recurring bills.
Well, I'll make a motion, we pay the bills, with that included, as they're listed here.
I'll second. Roll call, Mr. Steve,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Bittler,
No, I'll vote no with the exception of the recurring bills and the fire company.
Mr. Rose,
Yes.
I vote yes. Now, back to the treasurer's report.
Mr. Chairman, when you talk about the treasurer's report, do we all recall last month I indicated that there were some concerns with that?
Let's see, how it was labeled, yes.
Well, it's not just mislabeled, it's becoming increasingly difficult as we go through audits. These appear to be a mishmash. Does the packet include any changes?
Compared to what, Thursday?
Not compared to Thursday, compared to what we were supposed to do last month? Or is it the same printout? Richard, what's?
So the printouts are coming
Alright,
directly
do
from
you
the
recall,
books.
do you recall our discussion at the month where I thought we seemed to agree the financial statements, you know, after 2 years in office here of analyzing the situation are, I'll say, suspect. I mean, yes, we're running a business, but, I mean, it doesn't seem to me, certainly I'm hearing from people that are starting to look at this, it's not quite normal. So maybe we could revisit that till next month, would that be all right? Especially in time of, the end of the year, we'll be having audits, et cetera.
I'll make a motion, we accept the treasurer's report.
I'll second, roll call, Mr. Steve,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Bittler,
Yes.
Mr. Rhodes,
Yes.
oh, yes. And our sewer agent report, how did we find the information from yesterday that you?
Oh, I did not. I was down there and I was busy. I don't believe that the sewer aging report is correct.
What was yesterday, Mr. Chairman?
Sewer
Yeah.
sewer meeting.
Yeah, it was short.
I believe there's some omissions from that list,
Potentially missing from the sewer.
and, we need to take a look at that. So I think we'll just skip that one.
Yes, if you want to make sure. And Rich, we got the Dyer Quarry, you wanna update?
Just very briefly, I spoke with Jim Anderson from Bernard Quarry. They have agreed to extend a $50,000 payment to us, assured this not a requirement. Under the agreement that was made to us in 2007, it's $50,000 per annum with the exception of the first 2 years. The first year was $200,000, second year was $100,000, and $50,000 per annum after that, for a total of $1,050,000 or $1 million. They have agreed to give us an additional $50,000, and they are going to also come back and meet with us to potentially continue extending that contract, if you will. There's no contract in place.
Did we get the check yet, or is it coming from?
It has not arrived yet.
And that's not a legal requirement, as I understand that agreement, that has expired basically.
Correct, sir. This was a
This was just a nice here.
agreement that we essentially came to, you know, we talked about extending the contract. He said that he would be willing to continue giving, at least for this year, he's gonna give us an additional $50,000, so it's
That's good.
generous on their part. Along with looking at some road work, across with the intersection, which was done this last weekend, and potentially to support us with a backhoe on an as-needed basis, so much appreciated for that.
I'll make a motion that we approve the 2024 budget.
Okay, well, that's the next item on the agenda, and I'll second, roll call, Mr. Steve.
Well, can we have a discussion on that? I certainly have made objections previous, before we rush to vote on that, I believe that, frankly, we seem to have the same recurring theme here. One, we don't wanna raise taxes, we want a list of what the millage increase was. If you've seen what the county has done, stay tuned. It's not a good scene. We then wanna take in, to my favorite, I wanna do more roads. I wanna cut out some of the waste, I wanna cut out some of the things that I think are just not necessary. So I'm a no.
Roll call, Mr. Steve,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Bittler,
No.
Mr. Rhodes,
Yes.
I'll vote yes. Right, chief?
Evening, everybody. Nothing real new since we spoke Thursday. No update on the insurance claim with the tanker from the accident. They're still waiting on some estimates. And we're looking into early next year to get that in, as we previously discussed. We did, got Santa around town on Saturday. We had to bump it a day because of the rain. I want to thank Chief Castle for having Officer Schlappman join in. Looked good. I think the only other thing I have, and kind of answer Supervisor Bittler's comment, you said about the finances, every year we pay a very good chunk of change. We give all of our books over to RKL. I don't want to call it an audit, it's somewhere between a review and an audit. They match every penny out to where it went, to an invoice, to a statement, categorize, balance, file the 990, and they give us some spiral bound reports. So we get 4 of them. What I'm gonna do is I will drop 2 off here with the manager. One for your copy you can hold on to, and one that can be here if any of the board members want to review it. But that will be all of 2023's finances, January 1st to December 31st.
You can stick your constitution and bylaws with that.
I give you a nice binder, tabbed and color coded.
Thank you.
Hey, Scott, do you know if any of your grants or, lending companies require you to do that audit?
Nobody requires it that I'm aware of, nobody's ever asked for it.
I know, because some of the grants are hinged upon you having those audits done by a.
So our annual grant is the volunteer fire ambulance state grants, up to 15,000, which we normally get.
Yeah.
The FEMA grants are getting harder to get. They look at what you have and go, that's too new, and it's really not new. But they're looking for, backwoods. We got a 1942 truck. Let's get those people stuff first. We did write one. We actually contracted a grant writer to write one for us a couple of years ago. We got I think it cost us $2,000 to write it, and we got a $65,000 grant for Scott fill station for air cylinders. At that point, they did not require. This is kind of a voluntary thing we do, and then.
Because I know some of the grants that we have through the township were required.
I have not seen it. This is just something we do, transparency, and normally the township gets a copy of it for review.
It's a big expense for what you get back out.
It really is. We just discussed reviewing and maybe another option, another company, because it's going up and up.
Okay, thanks.
That's all I know.
You know what they were charging you to do that?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Do you have any idea what they were, RKO was charging you for the audit?
Last I knew, it was around $4,000, and they started in April.
Yeah.
They finished it. This time was a little extended due to a treasurer change and some, but normally we started around April and we get results September. So they're on it for a while, and it's question after question after question.
Your figure jives with one I remember.
Yeah.
I just was curious.
I didn't see the bill for the current one because it was just completed.
Right or not, yeah,
That's actually one of the cheaper audits that I've heard.
Yeah, I don't like to use the word audit because it's not a forensic audit. It's
Yeah.
not a review, it's not a forensic audit, it's like
I call it a reconciliation of the books.
basically it's third-party reconciliation that says everybody's in compliance. All money's where they said it was.
All right, thanks.
Thank you. Alright, moving on now. Board Supervisor Workshop Meeting minutes November 9th, and the Board Supervisor regular meeting minutes November 21st. I'd like to make a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second the motion.
Roll call, Mr. Steve,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Bitler,
I'll vote no.
Mr. Rose,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes. Would anyone like to make a motion to accept all the other reports in our possession?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Roll call, Mr. Steve,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Bitler,
Yes, we're accepting them and then not discussing them, is that what we wanna do?
We're accepting the reports we have, that's the way.
Right. Are we planning on discussing them or just?
You want to discuss it? We can.
Okay. Well, yes, I mean, I don't know why we, okay, yeah,
Mr. Rhodes, Mr. Rhodes?
Yes.
No, but yes, which one would you like to discuss?
any of them, I mean, but you guys have any comments on any of these reports or just move on?
Nothing exciting, no major comments. If you want to comment on it. No?
No. We'll come back, we'll revisit it if we wanna do that.
Alright.
Good evening, Board. I only have two action items for you this evening. They are both time extensions. The first of which is for Cedar Hill Estates, and I know this one's been hanging around quite a while. Their request was in my report to the Board. It essentially states that they are preparing a revised application to DEP and currently working with a wetland mitigation bank prior to resubmitting to the township. So that would be a 90-day extension into March of 2022.
I'll make that motion. We extend that by 90 days for Cedar Hill.
I'll second.
Roll call, Mr. Steve,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Bitler,
Yes.
Mr. Rhodes?
Yes.
No, yes.
Thank you. The second one is for the deeds Homestead 2 subdivision. The previous extension was to accommodate septic testing, perks and probes. This plan is currently back in for review and will be before your planning commission in January.
I'll make a motion if we extend the a 90-day extension on the Deeds Homestead 2 subdivision.
I'll second that also.
Roll call, Mr. Slade,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Bitler,
Yes.
Mr. Rhodes.
Yes.
No, yes.
Thank you, that's all I had for you this evening, other than one quick update if I can. I know that we were in discussions to do joint road work, and I know Harold's up to speed on some of that. There's some varying scopes of work between the municipalities. I have our projects ready to go, and I will have them on your agenda for the workshop meeting. Depending how this discussion goes, if we need to proceed by ourselves, we can be ready to do so.
Just a little update, Jeff Bryant from Bracknell called and said that they're not doing any, Township, they're just doing, paving. So they bowed out for this year, but they are willing to do, next year's projects with us.
And as I understand, it, with regard to Nelson Ott stopped in today, and we did have a brief conversation. That was just in regard to whether or not they would be proceeding from Union Township. My understanding is they had a couple of meetings that they wanted to put that in front of their board and some others. Wasn't particularly clear on who that may be, but hopefully we'll have an answer by the end of the week.
Makes sense.
Everybody. Well, I don't know, it would be, well, I guess it's not on the agenda, so we can't do it. I was gonna say, we can make a motion to advertise that when the information comes in, but
It's not late for the.
that's correct. It's not on the agenda.
We are prepared with the scope of work and contracts, we will be prepared with the agenda at the workshop in January.
Wheels of progress at Medicare.
That's all I have.
Alright, thank you, alright, Solicitor Orlando.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First item is for the board's consideration and approval of the separation agreement and general release that has been negotiated with Richard Orwig. I have the original here signed by Mr. Orwig. His signature was December the 6th. Under the law, he had 7 days to revoke it. He has not done so. So I have an original and one copy that if the board should take a motion to authorize approval and signing of this agreement. And I would suggest that you sign the original and one copy. Make sure that you put the date of your signatures. It's prepared for all of the board to sign. So it'll take a minute or two. But, does the board wish to take action on
I'll make a motion.
separation agreement and release?
I'll make a motion that we authorize signatures of the agreement with Orwig to separate.
I'll second, roll call, Mr. Steve.
Well, hold on a second. For those of you who are not informed as well as perhaps you'd like to be, Mr. Orwig was our former manager, being our second manager in the last recent months. Richard is our third. Richard did an excellent, in my opinion, an excellent job. He's to be commended for that through no fault of his own. He's not able to continue here. I think this place, as I told Richard, I believe this place is a bit of a mess. And I believe Richard Orwig was starting the steps to correct that. We seem, in my opinion, that we're still struggling with a lot of things. So from Richard's standpoint, I think, yes, there is a monetary amount. I think we can disclose that amount, can we not?
You can.
Okay, we can and I shall. I mean, I think it's the public's, money. So refresh my recollections.
It's $17,810.97
Okay, so-
in the form of a payroll payment. That's a gross payment.
So for that, the township got a number of things in that legal document, and we also are recognizing quite a bit of extra effort that we may or may not have been contractually obligated, to do, but I do believe it's in both Richard's best interest to end the matter this way and the townships. I'm not gonna be signing that document for other reasons, which I'm going to be discussing in executive session with our attorney. So, I'm not voting
All
no.
right, we have a motion and a second, so, roll call, Mr. Steve,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Dirkler,
I'm just not gonna vote.
Mr. Rhodes.
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Uh,
I think it's either yes or no
Or abstain, right, I was gonna say, a no vote is a yes vote. If you don't vote at all, it's
Well, I
considered a
guess
yes.
that's an abstain then.
Okay,
Or you can put down no, Howard, whatever you'd like.
well, no, it's your vote, you tell me what you wanna put down.
Okay, I'll vote no then.
Okay.
Thank you.
Does board wish to sign this bill?
Absolutely. All right, we put it this way.
The original's on top, Harold,
Okay.
copy underneath. I also recommend, since Bruce Orwig initialed every page, it would be good if the board did also. I don't think that's 100% required, but it would be consistent. And then, once the board signs this, I think the township should retain the original. I want one copy back so I can send it to Rich Warren.
Did we return the personal items that he asked? Is that been done? Didn't he want some personal?
Yeah, he wanted a mug and something else, I don't know what the other one was, I forget, it was two things, it was a mug and.
I think it
you
was a
gave him
painting.
mug, You gave him, and
A painting and a coffee pot, I thought.
Yes, a candy and a coffee pot.
I don't know if it was.
If not, let's take care of that.
There's a couple of things that are actually in the break room right now, if, I don't know anything about it.
There's the painting that was hanging in the front there.
Oh, okay, yes, I know, okay, then I do know which one that is, and then the mug was which mug?
Mug that the chief gave me.
Okay, yep, I think that was in those groups, so I'll take care of those two things, I was not aware.
So this is the real question,
Okay. We'll make sure.
is the expectation somebody delivers them, or is he coming to get them?
We can make whatever arrangement, that's not been discussed, so, I don't know, I can't answer that at this time.
We'll make sure about those, one way or the other, if you're
Yeah,
all right,
just
if
let
the
me
board's
know,
okay,
we can,
we'll
you know,
reach out to him and find out how he
That would be great.
Okay, if that'd be.
The other item on my agenda, Mr. Chairman, is the zoning hearing board has received an application from Gary and Lori Racer of Fleischman Drive. Mr. Racer is seeking a special exception to utilize a airstrip on his property for personal use. I was contacted by the zoning hearing board solicitor and asked to forward this application to the board to determine whether or not the supervisors had any comments or concerns or wish to take any position. This property is in the, I believe it's in the AP zone. There is a single-family home on the property for, I think he's a doctor, Dr. Rager.
No.
Not a doctor. And where he lives, there's apparently this is a personal aircraft for personal purposes. In this zoning district, airports are actually permitted by special exception. But the type of airport regulation that the zoning ordinance anticipates, probably does not anticipate, this type of arrangement. So, this gentleman may need other zoning relief, but the zoning hearing board solicitor is seeking determination, does the township wish to make any comment or participate in any way in this?
Any comment?
Typically, we've never made comments to the zoning hearing board because they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, is being an independent group, not necessarily influenced by all.
I don't know if I have a comment per se, but I have a concern at least. Does the FAA set any type of regulations on what this type of landing strip has to be? You know, you have to be constructed in a certain manner or anything else. If there's all I'm saying is if there's regulations there, the hearing board should know about it and include it in their decision.
Well, I don't know what the FAA regulations are, nor would I, you know, unless this board authorizes us to look into it. And, you know, that's outside of anything that I can comment on.
An email from Solicitor Orlando, when his little letter from Razor, that he can communicate with air traffic controller while landing, but then because of whatever he doesn't have, he has to break off communications before he lands.
Yeah, so I think this is more about the tower knowing he's falling off off the grid for a reason.
It would be better if they keep an eye on me until I get on the ground. Yeah, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, instead of, okay, good luck.
We lost another one, Rob.
You still wanna make any comments? I mean, it sounds like the special exception, we get more safety for the township, but I don't know if we need to really make a comment about it.
Wasn't there an airstrip there before?
I don't think on that property.
There was one at
the Arnold property for years, but
Yeah.
I don't think this is the same property though.
that's on the other side of the road.
Well, I guess we're not making any.
I will report to Attorney McFarland that this board has no further comment. The only other thing that there's no, it's not listed, but did the board have any additional questions about the Coleman case, which I alerted you to last month concerning the agenda issues? Do you have any further questions? I'll try to answer them, otherwise that's my report.
Jerry, I'd asked your associate to email me that citation over. I didn't see it. I'm not saying he didn't.
I personally emailed it to you.
I'm not saying he didn't. I mean, I just know.
No, I'm telling you, I mailed it to you.
Okay, good. I just didn't see it. That's what I'm saying.
You
I'm just,
said you got a link?
there is a trouble here getting emails. There is. There's a real trouble getting emails here.
Well, then, I think it's on your end, Tim, because every
I'm sure
email
it's
I,
not, and we'll get into that in executive session.
every email I send to this board, you're on it.
Yeah,
That's
Friday,
not, we
Friday.
need all emails sent.
Friday at 1:24.
Every
We'll get
one
into that in executive session since it's attorney-client privilege.
Don't argue with me.
I'm
I
not
just
arguing
told
with you, I'm saying we're getting into, I didn't say I didn't get it, I said I didn't know, I just asked.
I told you,
That's all I just
every
asked.
email that I send, you are copied on.
We'll
I
talk
can't-
about that, we'll
I
talk about
can't-
that in executive session.
Anything else?
One more thing, is it the shelter agreement?
Well,
So that,
that was, the township approved the authorization to the landowner. I was authorized to prepare an agreement.
but we should vote to sign it?
Well, the agreement came in. So if the township has received it, I think you should approve it and sign it.
Okay,
Because you approved that, I believe it was last month's meeting.
does anyone wanna take a look at it before we go ahead and agree to, or not to agree to, sign this thing?
Or you can put it on next month's agenda if you want.
Live out of the area of the house and we've been.
If people haven't looked at it, then put it on, why don't you put it on the reorg agenda and sign it then? That's only 2 weeks.
Yeah, might as well just wait since
Does
it's.
that have any effect on his process from there?
Well, it's gonna hold him up some, but
Yeah, we'll just do it on, we can do it.
I don't, what's that?
Just do it there.
Alright.
Anything else?
I have nothing else.
Alright, thank you very much. Alright, Rich, we got Public Works and Parking. Anything?
Any more short on phone for a second?
We're just still cleaning up from the flood from yesterday. So we've got all the way going
We'll
on.
talk about you talked Davis Park.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Davy Spar will be coming out to assess the trees at the park. Some of them, as Mr. Brown had noted, there's a couple limbs that are hanging. Unfortunately, those limbs are too high for a bucket truck, so.
Figured that when I looked at it, it looked like.
Yeah,
it was more
Davy's gonna come out and take a look at everything. Just, let us know what he thinks needs to be done and some of the safety concerns,
If you're gonna evaluate all the trees in the park,
everything.
yes, that's great.
He said he's going to try to do it this week. If not, it'll be after Christmas, so.
There may be other trees there that have broken limbs or something, but that one that I saw.
We did go down and take a look. I didn't see any others, but he, obviously that's,
That one, for some reason, they're just stood out like a sore thumb. I couldn't miss it.
no, it's fine.
Yellow curves.
There he is.
That's it.
Thank you. Alright, Rich, Park.
Nothing new from Parks and Rec from our workshop.
Alright, we're down to the manager's ordinance and the burn ordinance. Which one do you want to do first? You want to do the burn since it's hopefully a little simpler? Any preference? Want to do burn or manager thing first? Either one. You do burn. You still have the old emails. You had the burn ordinance, or anybody included in
Should be
the
on the back. Updated
Yeah,
back
is
to
this
the
in the
top.
packet?
Yeah, I will say that there's a lot of regulations that have come out by, with DCED. The county has implemented their own ordinance and everything else. And I think that you should probably look at all those documents before you try to revise this road ordinance. Because as I recall, DCED requires a grace period between the time you enact the burn ban and its effectiveness. And I don't believe that this ordinance does that.
I had some comments on that as it related to agricultural burn exemptions and farming enforcement issues as it relates to our police. They indicated that they were not, Chief, I don't wanna put words in your mouth, but I believe you weren't real thrilled having to be funds involved with the enforcement of that. Our ordinance talks about code enforcement, and I don't think that's really gonna work based on what we have. So I think Harold's idea is a decent idea to see what's involved with the county. For personally, when I do my agricultural burn, I do check in with the fire company, and I'm somewhat disappointed when the tones still get set off, or the sirens, or whatever you call that. So I think that's a good idea, Harold, and we can get some of that from the county and maybe be in an even better position to come in next month. One thing that was contemplated was in the nuisance ordinance, I'm not sure what we're doing with that you kind of proposed, you didn't recommend any changes to this. You kind of left it incorporating it by reference or whatever, so, I think it needs certainly looked at. I've also said that before we enact any more ordinances, I certainly wanna look at our existing ones. These are our ordinances here. And what I've said as it relates, most ordinances, most ideas, we've already have in here. And they can be amended without having to do, problematic ordinance after ordinance. We were talking earlier about tannerite, and we had some complaints on that in the community, and I've got some ideas on that, and also these Chinese lanterns, am I using the right term for that? What are these called? Okay. Well, as it relates to this, and you talk about a burn ordinance, Mr. Steve asked, what was my response to it, a township resident? And it's pretty clear these things are obnoxious and violate our existing ordinance. And I can elaborate on that further if we go down that road. So what I propose, Mr. Chairman, is we revisit this burning ordinance next month. And, we could have our manager get that information from the county.
Yeah, that's fine, cause then, when this email we received in April, Richard Orwig had, Bethel Township was, at that time, was doing a proposing a burning thing, and I wonder if they were incorporating any county things in there, so I don't know if you.
Let's get a copy of that. I looked at Exeter and I just don't feel it's for us.
Yeah, so I don't know if this Bethel reference anything else, and you don't necessarily have to reinvent the wheel, if they.
One of the things that I wanna avoid is specified days for burning. And any kind of amendments we get, I don't wanna get into first Saturday of the month, because, you know, sometimes that's a deluge, sometimes that's not.
Yeah,
Right,
and
that's one of the-
Bethel didn't have any of that.
That's one of the problems.
I don't think Bethel had any of that in anything, other than, I don't remember them having any specific days.
And that's not a criticism of Exeter, it's just I wanna do things different.
They had some other, looks like other rules and whatever, but I don't think they had specific days. But like I said, maybe they were referencing, so we can check it out. Alright, if you wanna.
That's, next month's workshop you're looking at?
Yes.
Talk about the managers.
Yeah, we'll do our next.
Well, I guess I was some of the initial driving force on some opening and discussion on that. I mean, I defer to my colleagues if they want to make any comments first, particularly with the troubling language of kind of the conflict in the hiring. This is one reason why I like the whole packet, if possible, to be put on the website. Then people who look at that can kind of understand what I'm talking about. Or if they're prepared in advance, it might be too much to ask, they could actually look at the ordinance within our volume of pages. So I'll defer to my colleagues if they have anything.
Well,
Do you have any have you developed any preferred wording at this point in time?
I haven't until, not necessarily preferred wording, but there's some things that we need to, I'm gonna say delete. One of the most troubling things here, in my opinion, has to do with, perhaps inadvertent powers given to the manager that I don't believe he or she should have, particularly as it relates to hiring and firing. It's kind of almost conflicting in here, and I believe for far too long, a board of supervisors has delegated things to the managers that they shouldn't. And I believe that we should be doing that.
now, it's not in this package, I was gonna pull up and try to find the date. Once again, Richard Orwig, and we talked about this before, had some corrections. I see that's not in, that's not in this.
No, sir.
You started on it, you're correct.
So you were saying about the hiring, Tim?
I wasn't clear, I think there was some conflicts, Harold.
All right, so I just want to point out that in paragraph B, on page 9, the middle paragraph, it says that the hiring of employees and the compensation to be paid employees shall be subject to the approval by the majority of the vote of the board.
And what at a minimum, before somebody's hired, at a minimum, this board needs to have input, and so I'd like to see, that beefed up considerably. If you read the entire document, you'll see other paragraphs that I'm not sure quite reference that or are somewhat unclear. And that's led us down to a lot of problems, in my opinion.
Now, did you want any of that information from the?
Yeah, let's take a look at, let's take a look at that. I don't recall.
I saw it last night, I was gonna write down the date, but I thought I'd be able to find it quick and I'd do the search, but, I think it was June, as I recall.
That was June of this year.
I think so. I'm not 100% sure, but I think I did see it. Do you remember, Richard, what month, because I know you had mentioned you had seen it, but,
I do not, sir.
because I also,
I have to go back and.
yeah, I reviewed it,
research
I reviewed it, but, well, we can get that, everybody. I mean, I did see it, I just don't, I thought it was, I'm looking at you now, but I'm not gonna just stare.
Going to research his notes and see what we can.
Yeah, because he had sent an email that, had all these additions, corrections, not that we want to necessarily agree with it.
That's right.
There's a reason. If you read this, that's what it's confusing.
So you want, so for the manager.
So why don't we look at that at the
So the
workshop?
the burning stuff, get information, see what the county does, see what if Bethel Township, used county reference, and then for the manager stuff, that we do because the email that was sent back then, not only had the manager ordinance with some corrections, it had the job description, I think there was 3 attachments, as I recall.
I can't recall the attachments. I know there were some, but.
It had everything, it had the job description, it had something with the Teamsters, it had everything.
So let's take a look at both of those at next workshop session. In the meantime, Richard, don't hire anybody
Yes, sir.
unless we get it all figured out.
If I could make a suggestion, though, if this is gonna be discussed at the next meeting, someone should send the information to Scott, so he's educated on what's gonna happen.
Say that again, Harold?
I said, if it's gonna be discussed at the next meeting, someone should send the information to Scott so that he can educate himself prior to the next meeting, because he will be sitting here.
And I assume Richard has your email address, right?
Yes.
Anything else before we go to executive go to training drilling? No, it's all right, we can go into executive at 8:10.
Those facts.
As a reminder, YouTube Live is still running. No, that was actually last Sunday. It seems like every Sunday.
Well, we've had it 3 or 4 times in a row.
Right.
Will do, thank you.
How you doing?
How are you?
Tired.
How's your wife doing?
She's doing better, but she's still not out.
I'm right here, she's doing better.
I can revisit this.
She'll get back on the surgery at the end of the month.
Well, I haven't been back, what's the current number?
Yeah, the lady that sold that property that had horse farm and all that stuff, they placed rock across the driveway. She called, she had it looking at me for 18.
There's no love like this.
But anyway, oh yeah, I don't like know, like the owner know her, but like if she walk in, I know her.
So she called.
I'll tell you that right
She called the office. They converted back to me.
God bless. That's the least I can say.
Yeah.
Very, and she never used it.
Telling on everybody. Certain has to.
But
It has to.
this was a big to-do between Gary and, you know.
That's what I gathered, and then she was trying to pull us in.
Yeah,
And I don't know the agreement, I said, no, I said, that's between you and me.
Oh, yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
understand.
Matter of time.
Where's the
Yeah.
gate? I know there's supposed to be a gate.
well, I don't know that he's obligated to put it in until
Till the gate.
which I'm sure it will be done well in advance of that, and tested and whatever. But yes, we can set up. It's probably best maybe you, Gary, and I get out there. Well, let's think about what are you gonna do, what are you gonna do if we get 24 inches of snow?
Well, that's them now, I mean, but
Right, but
we
can
have to
you,
go to plow it.
but you gotta get in the other end, right?
Okay.
What have you been doing? Just we back it on the low side of that basin there.
I think that's what we're gonna have to do. Regardless, the small truck's gonna have to go up there. You know, so.
Okay. Yeah. That's probably late after Christmas or after the first.
Yeah, well, no, yeah, cause I'm off for a while.
You guys, man, there's like a club of road crew guys that all take off.
They're giving it to us, I'm using it.
I hear you.
Yeah, other than that, she's, I don't know what else to do. I don't know what the agreement was.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know.
She wanted, when she called, she wanted us to go up there and move the stone with a loader. And I said,
I don't think you have a dog in that fight.
yeah. We went up the next day and somebody moved it. It looked like they struggled moving it, cause there was ripped up tire marks. But somebody moved it.
Hey, Tom.
Who knows?
I'll look into it. I don't know the specifics.
Who's the supervisor?
I just know that she no longer owned that land and he had it and turned it back to her or something like that. And the driveway's across.
I'll be right.
So, when you're coming out to survey, now we're gonna tell me that the road's 50 feet wide there?
I don't know how wide it is.
After the last 5-8 years, that it was 33 feet?
I don't know.
So then you're gonna take possession of my pipe?
I don't think anybody's taking possession of anything.
Well, I'm sitting here hearing Galen saying, oh, it was 50 feet wide.
It's on the,
Everybody told me it was 33, that's the way it was been set up.
it's on the liquid fuel.
Yeah, he's talking about right away with.
Yeah.
The intention is not a boundary survey, it's to take grade shots, and I'll let you know when he's gonna be there, and whatever you want. I want a grid so we can all sit down and see it, can we get water from A to B, and how we're gonna do it.
Well, I can tell you one thing, the pipes aren't big enough.
Oh, that's not shocking.
Well, my pond went over, and that's a 12-inch pipe with a 5-foot drop. Well, the pond went over and it took out the pipe. That's the outlet side of the road pipe.
What's that look like? Do you have a picture from the edge of, like, picture of?
It's literally a foot off the edge of the road. And that whole area, my mailbox is between where it runs off the one side of my driveway and it overflows on the other.
Has Barry or Rich seen that?
You know what I mean? I actually put a 4-inch pipe inside my 12-inch pipe to give it air, to get the pond to go down. And the grade, it's out, it's solid now, because I gotta have water going through that pipe. I can't have more water coming in, because that pond, the dam breast ain't strong. It's already, I filled in the one spot once. If that blows out, we're screwed.
It's washing away on the other people's property and.
You know, I lined that whole thing with R5s by hand to try to protect the embankment, but you know, I'm at the point now when we have these rains, and I get all the water from Moore and 568. If you ever seen Moore and 568 fence,
Okay.
that's holding pond for water, and that comes down and goes around and comes down into my pond from the back. And that front fills up, I mean, I've seen it this deep, and that's all coming to me, so I gotta keep that pipe open you know? And I mean, I'm pulling out trees, I'm pulling out all kinds of shit constantly in my pipe, just to try to, and if I would've been up all night, I could've put the pipe in earlier, but I put the 4-inch pipe in the morning, cause the pond came up 2 foot in a matter of hours, you know, and I can't.
I was down at the Monch Jones house today. I'm on the board for down there. They had 2 foot of water off the school in the bottom of the Monch Jones house.
Yes, and the pictures that I had, they're from last weekend, they're not even from this weekend.
Oh, gee.
The pipe this time is washed.
I watched.
Well, that picture was from after this one.
Yeah, that, where it washed,
I
but,
watched the weather report tonight before I came here, and so far this month, we've had over 6 inches of rain.
and I mean,
And it's raining.
that's what it looks like 10 hours after, you know, when the picture you see was flooded, but it goes down pretty quick, but.
But then you got that.
Yeah. But the point I was trying to make is the weatherman said that with rain after rain, the ground is saturated.
Oh, yeah.
And all the rains are just running off.
Yeah.
And
Right.
that's why they have flooding all over.
When you get this intermittent freezing like this, it doesn't make it.
Well, and the worst part is, this isn't even close to what it was a couple of years ago. Because I remember when the whole place in front of me was this deep. And it just flooded everything, and that was the heavy rains we had a couple of years ago. And when I moved in, the road always was frozen there. And I kept working at it, and I got it to this point, and then now we're back to where I started again.
Well,
And it's,
that standing waters is really what we need to get.
and it's not, okay, I'm the one that's complaining the most. But if you go down to my other driveway, the guy on the other side, that's the same issue. But he's a new guy in town and he don't know what, you know, he has a puddle in front that I filled in with millings once. So, I mean, there's a lot of water there too. So, I mean, it's not only one side, it's both sides.
All right, well, like I said, as soon as I know a date, you'll know a date. But this next couple months, or next couple weeks, and you know, we'll have
No, the holidays is-
you know, after the holidays, and they're hard to get right now, survey, because they wanna shoot through the woods right now, but I'll get them stuff out there.
Right, yeah,
Put that
I
out
just,
for us and we'll sit down.
it just, you know, it's just gonna get worse if we get any more rains like this.
The question is, can we get it from A to B, again, what do we gotta do to make that happen?
Right.
We'll take it.
All right.
I got a major question.
A major question.
You wanna go?
We did, we went by Friday night. After we kind of, spirit where, you remember Friday, I went from Exeter to Twin Valley and back to.
I got more to put up yet, but.
Well, you're running out of time.
Oh, I know, but they gotta put it in the electric, so I don't have it. I got blamed for that already.
All the new polls for support you're having?
They said, it's your life that's causing all this work on this road.
Surplus of polls that you get rid of before the first day?
Yeah, they're coming through like, Roy told me, he was involved in this.
Somebody wrote on an email Sunday morning, why did you make the snowman out of yellow? White lines, the same as.
So they also put out a picture. And then they run the schools on Rock 176.
You know, they all show up. Yeah, it's getting there, I probably have another 40 days in the lights.
I put up one blow up decoration and it blew over and it's still laying on stage. Frosty's drunk.
Well, never mind. Yeah, I put multicolored lights going up the driveway on the left of the road at Denver, because I don't know if you saw.
I didn't see that.
Well, if you're up that way, go and turn around. We were,
We were in Dodge Lovers before we were there, so I did see the lights.
You're a little blurry.
You saw the one.
Alright, we'll be on. See you guys.
Well, see you, have a good Christmas.
I skimped this year, we both skimped this year. I pulled the totes out of the attic right into the hallway, and they're sitting right onto the corner. I'm like, at this point, we're playing smart.
Yeah.
Put the tree up in the basement for her family Christmas, I didn't even get one for upstairs this year.
Are you staying till another
Well, of course I am.
I still have some more to finish.
Rats now.
I got them ready to go. That came back from Birchboro. That's some of the list of the stuff I have.
Okay.
I got about 8 sections of, some of it's number 6, most of it's 10.
Okay.
The 30 amp 220s, I have GFI breakdowns and individual, but I can stretch that sucker probably
We go far.
over 5 minutes.
Oh, yeah, it's not losing
Yeah,
anyone.
yeah, and, I got laser lights.
Yeah, I got one of those, they're pretty neat, if you walk in front of them.
Yeah.
And look up to.
Yeah, here's up the driveway.
Okay, you're out straight
I
out.
just got this side done. I gotta do
I'll
the
take a
rest.
peek on my way home.
Yeah,
I come through about 5:30 or so every night.
Yeah.
Normally see them pretty good.
yeah, I gotta work on some stuff. I get deer.
Oh, they eat all my
Pumpkins,
pumpkins.
yeah,
Yeah.
too.
That happened last year, they'll disappear, I had to move them.
But, I lost a lot of balls in the tree when I get up again. But yeah,
That's cool. Looks good,
coming
looks
out.
good, driving by.
Here's, I just did this up around the house. That, this between the two, and then I did this.
We more pages than
Yeah, I got a text message the other day, it said, looks good, but why did you make a snowman out of yellow stuff?
That's funny. Yeah, it looks good.
So like white lines, if I get a chance, I'll take out the yellow and put in white.
I have one of those for Halloween. It's a big blow up pumpkin, it's about 8 foot tall. And it's big freaking big, and it has a string of lights hanging in the middle that makes it glow, and all 2 of the bulbs are out. So this year before I put it up, like, I gotta change these bulbs. Well, how do I do this? It's inside of a deflated, so there's like a zipper hatch, like, so I had to blow it up and then unzip it, and I had to crawl in like it's been burnt, and it's like changing light bulbs.
I have greaves up above those doors, like, do the bright, the real bright
Yeah,
lights
the
on
blue
there.
light is good.
Yeah.
Looks good.
Well, here's the manhole.
That looks good. Yeah, we didn't do anything done this year.
I did research on that.
Of course.
But, in the house. Yeah, it just, and here's the tree.
Okay.
There's the weed.
Yeah, that's what mine do.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, Tom.
Yep. Oh, so what did they escort a supervisor out?
No, what Dave used, he's a heavy set guy that he came to a couple of our meetings.
Yeah.
Because he was interviewing your managers.
Oh.
Okay, but he's a supervisor in Exeter. And they hate him. This is a carbon copy of Bittler here.
Well,
So one of the meetings, they wouldn't let him talk, and he wouldn't shut up. They had the sheriff or the police chief escorting him out. So then, because his big deal is what the scandal at the golf course. They're losing $500,000 a year at the golf course, and everybody's hiding everything. They're all on the take when it comes to that. And so went to court to try to stop him from talking about what's going on in the township. And the judge just shot him down.
Yeah. Well,
Said they can't do that.
I might mention to Mr. Orlando, now you know why our previous solicitor is not here anymore. Chris sent a letter of resignation before reorganization last year. Chris Hartman.
Really?
Yeah, didn't you know that?
No, I just knew he was gone.
Well, he was gone because he said, I'm not putting up with this. It's fun.
Who's in the 16th? Who's in the 16th?
Got a minute after.
Yeah, yeah. Real quick. Oh, grab stuff.
You're gonna decide.
Tony, when you want to get the.
Just bring in Tracy. We're back into session at 8:29.
In the county jail.
And you'd like to make a motion
They
to
said
adjourn?
that's not.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Merry Christmas, everyone. That's the way to do it.
That's what fellow board safe and joy. Been about 24 years. Thanks for all the cooperation and help with graduation. Have a great Merry Christmas.
Dale, thank you for your service.
Did you get those?
No, I didn't, I come down,
Yeah, I showed over the rack.
yeah, okay. I was come down to the.
Somebody will review you.
We got some stuff to sign.
And if you can read 20. The pond had E. coli in it.
Yeah.
That was, there's a note on that plan that says the pond was supposed to drain, that's what didn't solve it. It ran right through what we were talking about.
Hey Harold, you wanna hurry it up down there with your signatures?
Hey, I got a whole pile of stuff down here you can sign. I only got a couple things to sign.
I'm waiting on you.